Hell, let them start.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Game of Triball. In this video I'll be going over the rules, how to play the game, and what makes Triball an exciting sport to play. In order to play a game you have to have at least 3 people for each team. It helps to have more, but no more than 12 people per team. That makes 4 lines of 3 people. Triball can best be described as a mix between football and basketball, while still being a unique sport of its own. And in the next clip, I'll go over how to start a game and how to score for offense and on defense. The game of Triball is played on a field 50 foot in width and 70 foot in length. The way you start a game, like I said earlier, 3 people for each side are on the field at a time. The 0-1-C, meaning the offensive position, number 1 crease. So in Triball you have your 0-1, who is always going to start in the 0-1-C. Behind the RZL, the return zone line. You can see here, the return zone line. The 0-1, starting the 0-1-C. 0-2 typically being your shorter route receiver. We'll work on that a little bit. The 0-3 being more of your wide out. Now this is kind of a basic setup to start a game. Notice everyone on offense starts off behind the return zone line. So now for the defense. The defense has, just as there is the 0-1, 0-2, and 0-3 for offense, the defense has the D1. You can guess what comes next. The D2 and the D3. All the defense lines up on the opposite side of the return zone line. No defensive player will ever line up on this side. No offensive player will ever line up behind, in front of the line there. Once the offense is lined up and ready to go, the 0-1 is allowed to signal for the play to start. The way that the 0-1 signals for the play to start is by putting the ball across the return zone line. We're going to call this here the return zone line. The ball is across the return zone line. Once the ball is pulled back and crosses behind the return zone line, and the shot clock starts. In the game of Triball, you have a 25-second shot clock. I will explain why the ball looks like potato later. So in order for a play to start, the 0-1 can either hand off the ball or they can pass it. For this example, we're going to use a passing play with some creative routes. Triball is given enough space with only 2 receivers to get creative with your routes. So what we have here is the 0-1 cutting out and coming back in on a short route, the 0-3 cutting up and then back towards the safe zone, which we will go over soon. The 0-1 now has to choose who to pass it to, either the 0-2 or the 0-3. Keep in mind the shot clock has already started and there's only 25 seconds. It is important to know that if the ball ever hits the ground, the play keeps going. The ball is live as long as the ball is in bounds. For this play, we're going to say that the 0-1 completed a pass to 0-2 and is now moving the ball downfield. 1 has completed a pass to 0-2, and the 0-3 is in the position that his route took him, still being covered by the D3. Now the O2, as you can also see, is in the 3SZ. That stands for 3-second zone. Now the 3-second zone, you cannot be in this area. Let me zoom out. You cannot be in this area for longer than 3 seconds. Notice it is mirrored on the other side. This is also the 3-second zone. So the objective for the O2 now is to get the ball inside of the safe zone. Safe zone is this triangle here, this middle part of the field. Once the ball is caught inside of 3-second zone, the 3-second clock starts. So now the O1 has a couple options. The O1 can continue his momentum into the safe zone with the ball, possibly running into the D1, or he can try to pass the ball off to the O3, whose route his momentum was taking him again inside of the 3-second zone. So if it takes him too long to get the ball to him, inside of here he's wasting time. The O3 then has to be quick about getting the ball back inside of the safe zone before the clock runs out, because even though he passed the ball to the O3, if he passes it to the O3 while the O3 is still in the 3-second zone, the clock keeps going. If the O2 decides to use his momentum to take it into the safe zone, the D1 most likely will be trying to cut him off to try to keep him inside of the 3-second zone. D2, if he pulls into the safe zone along with the O2 and the O1 falls behind, the O2 can pass back to the O1. Now, like I showed you earlier, the O2 passing to the O3 is a forward pass. The O2 to the O1, say he comes into the 3-second zone, is a backward pass. You can pass the ball in any direction. You can roll it, bounce it, just don't kick it. In order to keep the O2 from taking it inside of the safe zone, the defense is allowed to prevent him from taking it inside with physical contact. The rules for physical contact in the game of Triball are to keep the game exciting and yet at the same time keep the players safe. So legal physical contact in Triball is only for the torso area, as you can see on the perfect representation of the average human man. No contact to the head, the neck area, nothing above the shoulder, as you can see his shoulders here. Nothing below the waist. So there is no holding, no grabbing, no wrap-up tackles like you would in football. No head contact. What you see here is a successful attempt of gaining possession inside of the safe zone, free of the 3-second zone. Remember, if you are inside of the 3-second zone for more than 3 seconds, it is an automatic turnover, and then the defense then gets the ball. We'll get to that later. Now that the O2 is in possession of the ball, lined up in front of the goal, you have what you could call your wing guys at the moment. The O1 and the O2 lined up in the triangle formation. From here, the O1 can attempt to throw the ball through the goal. It looks something like that. Or he could try to cycle through to get somebody else open for a better opportunity on goal, for a shot on goal. What the offense cannot do is step inside of the GC, the goal crease. You cannot step foot inside of the crease to score. What you can do, if you run into trouble, is jump over the crease at the same time you're throwing the ball, as long as you don't land inside of the crease while you are attempting to score. Now for the defense stopped them from scoring, from doing that. The way they do that is by either physical contact, keeping them away from the goal, forcing them to the ground for an automatic turnover. They can either intercept the ball, cause a fumble, or you could simply block the shot from being made. Now, as the O1 cannot score from inside, as the offense cannot score from inside, the defense cannot block from inside. So the defense has to stay outside, just as the offense. And as the offense can jump across and over to score, the defense can jump across and over to block the goal. In order to create opportunities to score on offense, the offense is allowed to use screens and what is called a touch block. A screen is just like you would see in basketball. Let's say the 0-2 wants to come over to the right side of the goal, and he calls for a screen. The 0-1 would run over to D2, set up the screen as the 0-2 goes to make his roundabout. The touch block is used to gain separation from the defense by the person carrying the ball. So what we have here is a person carrying the ball being there. This being the other offensive person. Notice a person with the ball is touching the person who is blocking for them, both players being on offense. His objective is to block the defensive man. He's able to use his arms only at the torso area. Like shown earlier, nothing above the shoulder, nothing below the waist, no contact will be made there, only in the torso area. So this offensive person is allowed to block him and is given 3 steps after connection is no longer made between the ball carrier and the blocker. The blocker only has 3 steps left after this guy takes his hand off of him. Once the person blocking has finished his block with the last 3 steps made after connection is no longer made from the ball carrier to the blocker, then this offensive person is no longer allowed to make contact with the defense and is then forced to make a play by getting open or causing a screen. So as the 0-1 comes over to screen the D2, the 0-2 can either use a screen or start a touch block to have the 0-1 move the D2 and then potentially move the D1, and whoever on defense may try to interrupt the play from the 0-2 trying to score. If the offense successfully runs its play and scores on goal, they are rewarded with 2 points. If the ball is intercepted or picked up by the defense in an attempt to score, the defense then has an opportunity to return the ball to the RZC, being the return zone crease. In case the defense gets the ball and is given a chance to return the ball into the return zone crease, the offense is allowed the same rules that the defense is allowed to stop them from taking the ball inside the RZC. Just like the offense when the offense had the ball, the defense is to avoid the 3-second zone. Notice the play will start to bunch up as it gets closer and closer to the 3-second zone area here to avoid it. In order to score in the return zone crease, whoever is carrying the ball has to have a body part land inside of the return zone crease. Or the ball may land inside of the return zone crease, but it has to be in possession of one of the defensive players. The defense is also allowed to use screens and touch blocks in order to gain possession inside of the return zone crease. A successful attempt of scoring in the return zone crease is 1 point added to that team. If the defense does score, then they are given a chance on offense. They will start the play, they can switch personnel, but they have to start the play behind the return zone line as the offense did earlier. At that point, what was the defense is now the offense lining up behind the line. Offense, now the defense, changing personnel, is now on this side of the return zone line playing defense. And if the defense, again, intercepts the ball or picks up the ball, again, the ball stays live as long as it is in bounds, as long as it is in the playing field, the ball stays alive no matter what. If the defense picks up the ball, they then have a chance to take it into the return zone crease for 1 point. This is the ball for the Game of Triball. There is a reason why it is shaped like this. This is actually a soccer ball deflated and taped into this more potato shape. What I wanted was the ability to throw a ball like a football, to give it somewhat of the same grip, but to also give a more predictable bounce. Something that if it falls to the ground, you know more about where it's going to end up. And if you wanted to keep the play going, you can't quite pick it up in enough time, or you're just wanting to put it back in bounds as it goes to bounce out, You can hit it in and give it more of a straight roll. With these rounded off edges, it gives it that ability to kind of stay more in a straight line. Or if it bounces on one end, it kind of just pops straight back up. So that's why the Triball is shaped like this. Until I can figure out how to get a special made ball with actual leather, this is what we got. So that's it for the first Triball instructional video ever to be put on YouTube. The game can seem a little confusing, but if you give it a shot, you get out there and you try it out. It's just like any other game you've ever played. It's a mix of some of your favorite sports. Football, basketball, a little bit of rugby, kind of some hockey with extra playing field behind the goal, a lot of cycling and stuff like that. If you just get out there and you try it out, you'll catch on. So far it hasn't been a problem for anybody to not understand the game after a few plays. So if you're interested, come out. It's a lot of fun. It's exciting, it's physical. There are also rules for flag, so if you're interested in a little less physicality, there are also rules for flag Triball. So leave a comment, like, dislike, tell me what you think. Have a good day.